can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, and on today's show, we're going to be hitting on Jaxson Dart, throwing those darts in the Snoopy Bowl. Very nice outing for the potential future quarterback of my beloved New York Giants. Really something encouraging for an organization that has been through so much negative times over the better part of a decade plus. Gonna hit on Ben Rice, New York Yankees catcher slash first baseman slash designated hitter, as he had his career best day out in St. Louis yesterday as the Yankees, for the first time in forever, have won consecutive series. They look to sweep the Cardinals today. Will Warren on the bump versus Miles McCollum. So we're going to get into it. Got to start with my New York Giants. You know, building off of a good chemistry and a good flow in their first preseason game against the Bills yesterday against the New York Jets. And while it's just the preseason and while you don't want to have a huge overreaction, hard not to feel confident and hard not to feel good when the biggest unit and biggest problem for the Giants, for as long as many can remember, has been the offensive line. The offensive line through two preseason games has not given up a sack. Jaxson Dart engineering 2 touchdown drives, highlighted by the touchdown to tight end Greg Dolchik, who I believe may very well be getting split reps with second-year man Theo Johnson, who had some moments last year for the Giants as well. Offensively, regardless of who's under center, this looks like a team that just looks a lot more fluid. They have more confidence, and it's exciting to see right now. Dante Turbo Miller definitely has a legitimate shot to make this team. And, you know, you got to keep it in perspective, as I already alluded to. It's just the preseason. But the New York Giants right now looking like a team with promise, and that's all you can ask for when you have the toughest schedule in the NFL coming into the season. But definitely reasons for hope and legitimate hope, not just kind of taking a punch in the dark. This is a team that I believe over the course of the last couple of years has really enhanced this roster. And I think now that Shane and Dable finally got the quarterback they want, mixed with veteran respected mentors that they want, things are going to be a lot more positive in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And when you beat the team that you share the stadium with, it doesn't matter if it's the preseason. It doesn't matter if it's the annual game that you get them in the regular season every 3 to 4 years. It also is not just dictated on divisional rotation. Now that they offer a 5th game in interconference play, it could also be something like that. But right now, Jaxson Dart showing promise and reasons why he may be starting in an NFL game sooner than later. Of course, I've heard many people that are Giant fans express that they would prefer Jameis Winston to be the initial starter. I myself was a little puzzled when they brought in Russell Wilson because if it is indeed Jackson Dart by say week 4 or 5 or even sooner, the Russell Wilson contract will be looked at as a little goofy. And I personally think that when you go through the quarterback hell that they were in with DJ, it was maybe a little bit of overkill at that position, but you always would rather have depth than not having enough. And you have three guys, possibly even four, because Tommy DeVito has had some success in this league. But truthfully, the only way that Tommy DeVito stays a New York Giant going into the new year is in the event if they were to trade Jameis Winston, which I truly don't think they'll do, considering that he's on a 2-year deal and it's perfectly set up for him to be a spot starter and the mentor for Jackson Dart. I think Wilson is one and done, and definitely reasons to feel positive. The New York Giants defense, a lot of experts believe that this could be a defense that can potentially be a top 10 unit. You have the trio of edge rushers in rookie sensation Abdul Carter and the veterans Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. This kind of gives me the OC Strahan and Tuck vibes, or even the JPP Tuck and OC vibes. But definitely something that New York Giant fans are most definitely excited about. Moving it along to the New York Yankees. Big victory yesterday in St. Louis on just a historically hot evening. Former New York Yankee Sonny Gray was visibly struggling with the heat, as was Max Fried of the New York Yankees. Unfortunately for Fried, this is his fourth consecutive start where he got hit around, and the offense was most definitely needed to get this victory in St. Louis. Ben Rice, this is a guy that I'm really happy the Yankees have been patient with, definitely growing off of his 2024 campaign where he played at first because of the Anthony Rizzo injury. He was kind of thrust into the lineup. The kid is taking better at bats. Even when he makes outs, they're just higher quality at bats. And Ben Rice proving his worth and making people understand why Paul Goldschmidt was only a 1-year deal. But the versatility that Rice is bringing is intriguing because Rice is also able to play catcher, and he's been getting more action behind the dish. And it will be interesting moving forward into the 2026 season to see where the Yankees plan on using Ben Rice. I mean, perhaps he goes back to first. Does Goldie get another year? I personally don't think so. I don't really think it makes a whole lot of sense to bring Goldie back, as he has moderately regressed as the season has moved along. But for a team that's been struggling, winning two consecutive series against teams that you're supposed to beat is how you get in the playoffs. I'm not going to absolve the Yankees of their many issues. You don't want to be winning ball games 12-8. That doesn't translate to playoff winning formulas. But right now, you take what you can get. And, the New York Yankees are currently third in the American League East. And they just got to try to keep winning series. Like the great Bobby Cox said, you win 2 out of every 3, you'll be a playoff team. And that's what the Yankees are trying to do, as their wild card margin for error is thin. But I do believe that if the Yankees continue to, muscle out these series, they should find themselves in October. And in October, anything can happen. Giancarlo Stanton was not in the game yesterday, as, his action in the outfield, they're taking it slow with him. This is a guy who hasn't played the outfield for multiple years. But because of the Aaron Judge injury, where Aaron Judge specifically needs to be a designated hitter, it's what the team needs right now. Jazz Chisholm Jr., kind of talking down the potential slump due to his home run derby action. So Right now, just a day-to-day thing with the Yankees, just trying to get better every day and trying to do enough to get into the postseason. Boston Red Sox playing a really good baseball right now, as they have been red hot, jumping the Yankees recently, and the head-to-heads do not favor the Yankees, but that could determine how this plays out, as there are still bowl games and meetings to be had. Crosstown rival New York Mets still trying to find their way, and coming into the season, it was something that I feared for the New York Mets, as their pitching just not deep enough, and the bridge to get to Edwin Diaz. But this is a team that through the first couple of months of the season had the absolute best ERA in all of Major League Baseball. That has slightly materialized into just a blow up. These are not guys that are going deep into games, and the warts are starting to show. I personally believe the Philadelphia Phillies are the best team in the East. The Dodgers, their depth, can't count them out, regardless of what the Milwaukee Brewers are doing and the kind of sensational season they're having. Anyone, regardless of how you feel about the Dodgers, you got to assume that they're going to be the favorite going into the playoffs. But the American League East potentially going to send three teams in this. Detroit Tigers, divisional leaders in the Central, they have considerably cooled off, but still a dangerous team going into the playoffs as well. So, should be a pretty interesting dance in October. Major League Baseball's ratings last year for the World Series were through the roof. I expect the same, as although a lot of people are not the biggest fans of Commissioner Rob Manfred, the ratings have been much better. And, being a New Yorker, I always want the Yankees and Mets to be relevant, because at the same time, because I think it's better for the sport when they're both relevant. But that's really all I got to say right now about Major League Baseball. I covered the Giants' big preseason win. More importantly, the rapid progression of rookie Jaxson Dart out of Ole Miss. Can't really go wrong with Ole Miss when you consider that's where Eli Manning came from, the two-time Super Bowl champ that took down Tom Brady's mighty Patriots twice, particularly mighty in 2007. Before I get out of here, I want to let you guys know tonight, 10 p.m., we will be going live with our AFC East preview. Um, a Super Bowl contender for sure, the Buffalo Bills. New England Patriots back on the rise with former Patriot legend Mike Vrabel coaching. You got Aaron Glenn out in East Rutherford coaching the Jets. And will this be Mike McDaniel's final year with the Dolphins? As there are a lot of question marks surrounding that team. And they are an organization right now that is in a bit of salary cap hell. So plenty of storylines going in. And Henderson of the Patriots, man, definitely pushing to be the lead horse in that backfield. So it's going to be interesting to see the progression of the New England Patriots year one with Mike Vrabel, one of the better coaches in the NFL. And I must admit that I was a little surprised with his departure from the Tennessee Titans. Previous coach Gerard Mayo didn't have the best chance, not really any fault of his own, but when you have the opportunity to upgrade and bring in a proven winner like a Vrabel, it's kind of a no-brainer. But Patriots, I think, are going to be a surprise team this year. Not going to give too much away, because we're going to be speaking on that tonight. I'm going to have my guy Idris Islam, as well as Patriot fan Brett Bandick. So looking forward to bringing you guys that divisional preview. And on the 21st, we're going to do our due diligence to get you the NFC North. And speaking of the NFC North, this handsome fellow with the mustache, my late father, Richard Hicks Sr., today would have been his 66th birthday. Hard to believe it's been 8 years since I've had a conversation with my father. Truly shocking when I think about it, and just, a reminder of how thin life is and how quickly time moves on. But, Dad, I just want to say to you, thank you for all the great memories of my childhood. You were a permanent fixture in everything that had to do with me growing up. Thank you for the many memories at Yankee Stadium. Thank you for all the cookouts that we had. Thank you for all the tailgates that we had. My dad was one of the guys that he was kind of like everybody's dad, and he was kind of like everybody's cool uncle. My boys always loved hanging around with my dad. And the true blessing that I had with my father is, in addition to being when he had to be the drill sergeant, the general, so to speak, the warden, so to speak, he was also my best friend. And that's a beautiful, rare thing, and something that I am very blessed to say that I had, and very thankful that I had. Dad, Nancy, myself, your beautiful wife, Irene, your ex wife, Eunice, my stepdad, Eddie, your buddy, John Olson, your best friend in New York, Randy Rios, and the many people you touched over the years, whether it be Brett Ski, whether it be Cliff. I just want to let you know from all of us that you are just so sorely missed. But you're always alive as long as we continue to share terrific stories and just laugh. Because one beautiful thing that I've come to realize is that I smile a lot more than I cry when I think about my father, Richard Hicks Sr. Look forward to seeing you all back here tonight at 10 p.m. I'll be dropping a promo video for that. Tonight it is the AFC East. Looking forward to it. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Enjoy your day. Make great decisions. Enjoy it. I'm out for now.